celebration of life for someone who is so loved. Look at everybody here. Feel the energy, the joy, the love that is here today. This is a wonderful, wonderful time to be together, to remember a remarkably wonderful person. Oh, a simple name, but a really wonderful guy. But he's not here with us. He's not actually physically here. That's the hard part. There's a story about Moses, the guy who led the Israelites out of Egypt and across the wilderness and got them to the promised land. And that took him many, many years. And he was ready to die. And so he told his people something that was quite important. He felt it was very important for them to know. And he said to them, I'm leaving you, but you have a choice to choose life or to choose death. That's kind of weird, because he's dying. And how much choice do we have about living or dying? Well, there was a lot deeper meaning to what he said than just being alive, physically or not. When he said choose life, he meant choose to do good, choose to help people, choose to be a part of all this wonderful world that is here, choose to uplift and sustain everyone and everything, all these beautiful plants and mountains and waters, and all beautiful people, or people we don't think are so beautiful, but everybody in this world. That's choosing life. When we don't take care of others, when we don't take care of ourselves, and we don't really care about anything, everything dies. If we have a beautiful plant and we don't water it, it's not going to live. So that's what Moses said, choose life. Life doesn't stop. And that's what Bob did. I heard all kinds of stories, and probably not even a fraction of what happened, about all the things he did for other people, for his family, for where he worked, for everybody. I just knew him the last few months of his life, and every time I would see him, there was a smile, there was a twinkle in the eye, and I just felt better. He's a wonderful, positive person, and he chose life. And because he chose life, which is to spread kindness and to spread love, everybody's here. And the world is a better place because God was here. And that love doesn't end. That life doesn't end. He's with us all the time. And we can say, thank you, Bob. Thank you to this great world for all of this life. And let's keep choosing that life that Bob showed us how to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And Julie's a chaplain with the hospice team here in Cottonwood. And just a But it's just a great big thank you to all of the hospice team here that provided just incredible help and care to Bob. And then also for the group home and all the caretakers there that just did an incredible job helping Bob, taking care of him. So thank you for all of it. And on behalf of Beverly and the entire family, we just want to thank you for all of your love, your support, and your kind words during this difficult time. For those that don't know who I am, I'm Bill Sweeney, I'm the son-in-law to Bob and Bev. And so I'm here I have the privilege of sharing just a few insights, some funny stories, kind of have you see a little bit more of an insight into who Bob was. And so today we celebrate Robert Earl Kniffen, affectionately known as Bob, in a life well lived. He was known as a husband, father, father-in-law, grandfather, and great-grandfather. He's 89 years old. He was born in upstate New York, married 68 years to Beverly, 3 daughters, 9 grandchildren, and 15 great-grandchildren. He served in the United States Navy during the Korean War and was assigned to the USS Power, which is a U.S. destroyer ship. He met Beverly while he was in boot camp. Bob had a buddy that asked him if he wanted to write to a girlfriend of his fiance's, and that girlfriend was Beverly. Beverly was the girlfriend of his fiancée. And he said yes, so he did write, he did call, they did meet, and the rest is history, as it was love at first sight. While he was stationed in Rhode Island, he would drive several hours every weekend to go visit Beverly in Staten Island. And he would make that round trip all the time while he was stationed there in Rhode Island. So he was a proud veteran, and he always wore his USS Power hat and jacket. You probably never saw him without it. It seemed like he wore it every day. You'll see several pictures up here with that, him proudly wearing that. And Bob was a very, very hard worker. He worked construction. He was a builder, a carpenter, a remodeler. He was a contractor. He owned his own successful remodeling company. He owned, built, and managed his rental properties. He was a hard worker. He was always knocking down walls, expanding space, whether it was his houses, our house, your house, friend's house. It seemed like everybody's house had a wall being busted down and expanded or remodeled in some way. So that was kind of his trait. He volunteered with the Valley Big Brothers, and he was a mentor to a young 8-year-old boy for several years. And Bob made it a lifelong commitment to stay in contact with that young man who has grown, married, and has children of his own today. Bob loved to travel and take road trips. He jumped at any opportunity to get on the road and travel the world, if you will, but to his mind, the open road was great. Bob and Beverly would take their camper van and just travel, see the States, and enjoy meeting people, and went out of their way to take the time to visit with family, to visit with friends, wherever that road took them as they were traveling. And Bob had completed his goal of visiting all 50 states. So that was quite an accomplishment for him. He was outgoing, he loved to meet people everywhere he went, and he was kind, helpful, friendly. He made others feel important. He was always willing to help other people who had difficult circumstances in their lives or various needs. And he was always there to do what he could, whether handing them some financial help or physical help. He was just a very, very, very giving man. He attended drafting school in New York City to learn architectural design, drafting, and estimating as a new career to provide for his young family at the time. Bob had a serious back injury and wanted to continue to provide for his family, so he decided to take a different career avenue. And took this schooling and developed a new skill set to eventually then open his own remodeling company down the road. But he did that so he could provide for his family. So that's a very important trait that I think everyone should have. He just loved his family and wanted to take care of them. He was baptized in a Catholic church in the French Riviera during his Navy deployment. His Navy buddy had taught him catechism, and Bob made the decision to be baptized. So can you imagine being baptized in the French Riviera? That's pretty cool. He had special words of encouragement that always included, don't worry about it. The good Lord will take care of it. That was one of his important phrases he always said. He was inventive, creative, storyteller. He was a jokester. He worked with his hands. He was dedicated. He always had a big smile. And if you knew Bob, he had large, strong hands that would grip your hand and make you feel welcome wherever you've been, wherever you were. He just loved to reach his hand out and welcome you with that big smile. Bob loved coffee. He loved coffee a lot. And I have a cup here that he would always take time for coffee, and with a great big smile and lots of times with a New York accent, he would say, do you want some coffee? Let's go out for coffee. Or do you have any coffee? And he enjoyed this coffee time to visit with family, friends, and he would drink this coffee any time of the day, evening, night. Didn't matter. He loved drinking coffee at any time. As a teenager, he would occasionally drive his buddies from upstate New York to New York City just to have coffee and hang out. That's like a 3-hour trip to go to Starbucks, and they didn't have Starbucks. That's wild. So, he loved coffee. Many times as he would go out to restaurants, he would get coffee. You can see a picture of him up here on the table. And he would stir his coffee with the spoon. If I can do this, then hats off to you, Bob. Hands are shaking. He would balance that spoon just so perfectly that, I did it early today. Let's try it. What's that? Okay. Anyhow. Yeah. Oh. Almost got it. Okay. This probably has to work because you got to see it. All right, well, it's not good. So, imagine. There it goes. Okay. So, sorry, I did that. But he would stir it and then get that spoon just right to where it looked like magic. It seemed like the coffee itself was thick, was holding it up straight out of the coffee, and then without touching the top of the rim at all. And the servers would stop by. Waiter, waitress, didn't matter. And he would, with his great big smile, he'd say, "This is the thickest coffee I've ever had." And servers would look at his cup, and they'd be like dumbfounded, befuddled, like in amazement, not sure what to do, and stutter and say, "Well, I'll bring you another cup." So that was his. They just, he tricked a lot of servers that way. So that was a kind of a fun thing for him. And when his cup was empty, that same cup that you saw the spoon sticking out of, that same server would come over, and he would tell that server, "My cup has a hole in it." Again, that server would look like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, there's a hole right here, and my cup's empty. Can I have a refill?" So he said, "The hole's right there on top." So Bob had a long and prosperous and full life, surrounded by a loving family and friends. And although there are way too many stories and events to share today, I thought about his love for coffee and discovered a lot of similarities between his coffee cup and spoon that describe many attributes of who he was and what his life was about. And each of these symbolic attributes can be seen in Bob. Who he was, how he interacted with people, how he reached out to others and made many, many friends. So the cup itself, if you think about the material that it's made out of, strong, yet fragile. And That's Bob as well. That cup is dependable. It's always there. Hard working, dedicated. The handle kind of symbolized to me of Bob reaching out to shake their hand, or providing a helping hand to others and strangers. The other direction, holding on strong to that handle, representing holding on strong to who and what he loved. And also then just the time, taking time to visit with people, talk, and tell stories. That spoon represents Bob's humor. He's a jokester. He always had new jokes to tell whenever you saw him next. Most of those jokes were PG, PG-13. Others not so much. He played tricks, he was silly, and on one occasion while he was eating out, he told the waitress that he was the sailor in that iconic sailor kissing the nurse photo. You know what I'm talking about? That photo was hanging on the restaurant wall, and he told that server, "That's me in that picture there." And the server said, "Oh yeah, prove it." Bob jumped up out of the booth, put his arms around that waitress, dipped her back, and kissed her just in like that iconic photo. He's kind of a silly man. That coffee. The coffee itself. Another attribute. The coffee itself. Coffee can be complex and complicated. Well, Bob was also complex and complicated. Be bitter at times. Be sweet at other times. Keep you warm and soothing. Or it can be hot and grumpy. I mean, that's kind of how most of us are anyhow, but that's him. The color of the coffee itself. Dark, just describing his bold and strong character. Sometimes it's muddy. The color of coffee was muddy. Is describing his crazy and fantastic ideas and ways of doing things. Although his creative, innovative ideas and inventions seemed a little muddy or murky, Bob could see them crystal clear. He knew exactly what he was seeing, exactly how they would work, and exactly how to draw and illustrate them and implement a plan to make it happen. So each of these attributes of the cup and spoon in some way describe Bob and who he was. So next time you enjoy a cup of coffee, take a moment to remember Bob and how he impacted your life. Or perhaps understand a little better how he impacted the lives of others. As you reach for that handle and take a sip, smile and give a nod to Bob. So his love for coffee. Rest in peace, Bob. See you in heaven, where I imagine that we will share a cup of coffee again, and probably at your new coffee place, Heavenly Grounds. Rest in peace, Bob.
All right, where do I start? I got all my skills of finding my beautiful girlfriend from Bob. All my talking skills, my hair, and my jokes. I mean, he was the best jokester that I knew. I could never retain any of his jokes, but they were always great. One of my early memories with him is learning how to drive in Kingman, and him telling me to let the wheel go and let it slide through my hands as I make a right, you know. Yeah, he was a good grandpa. He lived through the majority of my young and childhood and early adulthood, and it was great having him around, grandma and grandpa. And, I wish he lived closer to us. I wish we spent more time with him. But he was amazing. He was a good guy. He took care of all of us, and I'm happy he's in a better place now. At the end, it got quite sad. So don't worry, ladies. I'll take care of you now. Just go from there. But who else wants to speak? I need help. I can't talk for 15 minutes like Bob did. But who else? Who we got? I need the girls. Some of the cousins. You guys, come on, bring them up here. Janelle, come on, Janelle. Don't be shy. All right, I'll keep talking. No, I think this family hasn't seemed big to me until today, and all of us here. So it's pretty phenomenal that we're all together again. Compared to Karina's family, my girlfriend's family, they're very big, and what I want us to do after today is start a family group chat. So the Puerto Ricans, there's about 50 of them, and they all have one text message group chat, and that's how we all stay. That's how they stay connected around the whole world, which is cool. So we're gonna start that today, and it's gonna keep us tighter and closer together. I would imagine. They share birthdays and everything, so it's great. So we're gonna do that. We're just gonna do things that Bob would have done if he would have had the technology we have. So, if you guys just want to pour some coffee out for Bob, just right in the ground, I'm gonna take it a step further. That way he can drink again. But yeah, I mean, rest in peace, Bob. We're gonna miss him, and we'll be next to him sooner or later. Love you guys, and it's time to party.
Thank you, Gary. Any other family, friends, anybody here, you're more than welcome to share an anecdote, a story, whatever. We would love for that to happen if you would like to.
Hey guys, probably you all know me, I'm Lauren, sister. So I had like the really great pleasure to be really close to my grandparents the last, I don't know, it's been 3 years? When did you move here? Oh, 3, yeah, so it's been sweet. We've all been like 5 miles away, and I've never had that relationship with them. It's been really, really awesome. But my grandpa just taught me how to just slow down. Just to travel millions of miles to see the people you love. I just picture them in that little tan, like, I don't know, that car that they would drive. It was like a Cadillac. It was like ridiculous, just driving all through the mountaintops. My
Okay, I might talk a little loud because I'm pretty good at that, so is the rest of my family. So bear with me. For you people that don't know me, I'm Bob Swanson. I'm married to Kathy, his middle daughter. First time I met Bob, kind of an awkward moment. Kathy and I had been seeing each other for a while, a long time ago, and she wanted me to meet her parents, which is fine. You know, and of course, back in the day, I had the long hair and, you know, I was kind of a ragged looking guy. I'm not the best looking now, but I was rougher back then. So I go over to the house and, you know, he's watching basketball. He was a big Suns fan back in the day. And he was watching basketball, and never forget, we're sitting there and he's staring at me. It's kind of awkward, you know. And I'm staring at him, you know, and I wasn't raised with sports in my life at all. We didn't do sports when I was younger. My parents didn't believe in it, so I knew nothing about it when it's a basketball. So he's asking me what I think, and I don't know what to say. I said, yeah, it's okay. You know, try to develop some kind of camaraderie with him, I guess, to say the least. And it was a little more awkward because, for you people that don't know the story, Kathy was engaged at the time. So it kind of put a whole crimp in the whole family atmosphere. And I know what you're thinking, it's not like that. You know, it just happened to work out that way. You know, and I know her mom, you know, they had plans and all this stuff that we're gonna do, and all of a sudden here comes this other guy in the picture. And she's thinking, geez, you know, I can imagine, because I know what I'd be thinking with my kids. You know, if they did that to me, I'm thinking, what the heck's the matter with you? You know, but, you know, he just kind of stuck out, and he got to know me a little bit. I got to know him. We seemed to get along okay. Of course, we had our up and downs, like everybody does. I worked with him a little bit, did some remodeling. I like to paint. He let me paint some of the houses he remodeled, and I told him, I said, don't let nobody use a sprayer except me, because nobody ever cleaned it like they're supposed to. You know, I get there and the thing didn't work, you know, and it's just constant. But anyway, I can remember that, and I've known him for a long time. I wish the same thing, that I lived closer. You know, when we moved away from Phoenix years ago, you know, it's a little different, you know, it's a little harder for us to get back. We were in Iowa, you know, it's a lot farther away, you know. So it was hard, I get it, you know, but it's just kind of what you do. Your kids go one way and they spread their wings and move on. But we did come back there toward the end when he was starting to get sick. You know, we spent a little more time here. Unfortunately, maybe not as much time as we could. But we did spend time, and now we're here now. We live here now, so hopefully we can spend a lot more time around the rest of the family, which I do know them, but I don't know them as well as I probably should. But I plan on changing that. So I do tell the rest of you people that have had a situation like this, spend more time around family. It is important.
Thanks, Bob. Anybody else would like? We'd love to hear it. Oh, yes, please.
I'm Nancy's next door neighbor.
I can't hear
But Lauren had just been born, and Bob and Bev came over, and Bob had on these sunglasses, and he said, "Hey, how do you like my new sunglasses?" And I said, "Yeah, those are pretty nice. Where'd you get them at?" And he goes, "Denny's." And I go, "Denny's?" I go, "Would you leave them there?" And he says, "No, that's where I get my sunglasses at. I just go in and say, 'Hey, I left my sunglasses here.' They pull out a box and I pick one out." So that was always our little joke whenever I'd see him. I'd say, "Hey, did you get any new sunglasses lately?" But then they went away to keep them, and then when he came back, and you know, he had kind of forgotten our little joke. But I will always remember that, and that is my memory of Nancy Stanford.
So I'm Christy. I was part of the hospice team. This man had 4 ladies that loved him very much. And it was such an honor and an absolute privilege to be part of this story. It was hard at times. I mean, I remember sitting up on that balcony, and there were all 4 of you and some spouses sitting around, and I think of that screen scripture, in the abundance of counsel comes victory. And every step of this last, I don't know how long it was, but there was lots of powwows, lots of calls, lots of decisions, lots of opinions. And gosh, I remember one time I was truly exacerbated, and I think I called each and every one of you. But what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience, and a privilege and an honor to know each and every one of you. He was very
Anybody else? Fun little memory story. Oh no.
Hand it over.
I don't know how much time.
Hand it over.
2 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name's Rob Sweeney. I'm actually Carol's brother-in-law and Bill's youngest brother. I asked him last night, I said, I pared my 28-minute speech down to 20, so is there that much room in tonight's effort? He says, no, so it's not that long. So just talking about Bob, the thing that I always remember is just his infectious smile every time you saw him, right? And I couldn't help but watching the videos and the pictures up here. He was always ready for the camera, right? You didn't have to say, okay, we're gonna smile on 3, say cheese, because he was always ready. He was always smiling and always greeted you with that warm, loving smile, and always asked you questions on how you were. And so I really appreciated that. It was a wonderful time. So last time I saw Bob might have been just over a year and a half ago. I had the pleasure of working just up the road here in Clarkdale, and Beverly got a hold of me and said, hey, I want to give a gift. Can you take it back to Carol so Bill and Carol can take it to Seattle? I said, certainly. Meet me at Town Hall in Clarkdale, and I'll be glad to do that for you. So there's Bob sitting in the front seat with a smile. He rolls down the window as I'm getting the gift, and he takes a look at me. And you know, sometimes he likes to joke, but sometimes he smiles when he's actually telling the truth as well. And he looked at me and he goes, you know what, Rob? You're a lot better looking than your brother. Had that big infectious smile on her. Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. You know, thank you for that lasting memory, and I'll make sure I'll let my brother know. So, rest in peace, Bob, and until we meet again. Thank you.
Hello. I'll share some stories. Garrett's cousin, so Grandpa Kniffen for me. He was such a good grandpa. I mean, we lived, maybe 30, 45 minutes away growing up, but every holiday and some weekends we'd see him. He'd come over and watch us a lot. And the thing that I remember most is just the joy that he had for everything. And he would drop everything to do what we wanted. He would pull his teeth out. We'd ask him to show us your teeth, and he'd yank out his dentures and do goofy stuff with it. He taught us how to. He'd take us to go get ice cream a lot at McDonald's. He taught us how to inject it with a straw full of water. Let go, and then there's like a frozen column of water. Just weird little tricks, hacks like that. He was super inventive. I think I got some of that from him. He envisioned all sorts of futuristic stuff that still hasn't, we don't have the technology yet for. But he's always thinking about that sort of stuff and really, really resourceful. He could, making bird feeders out of Gatorade bottles, or building entire rooms out of doors, things that totally aren't up to code, but they work. And he knew how to make it happen. And I think all those, the way his mind works was really cool, and just so much love and joy. And, I'll miss him.
Don't be bashful. They're all great stories. I would love to hear more if you want to.
I think people need to eat first.
Okay. Who wants to eat then? All right, who would like to explain what's happening with the food?
Yeah.
No? Other than it's over there, go get it? Is that all we need to do? Okay, so, we need 5 minutes. We need 5 minutes to get it like freshened up and ready to serve over there. Then it's gonna be like, build your own sandwiches, you'll see it, it's I believe it's pulled pork sandwiches, other things over there, different salads. So you'll help yourself kind of assembly line, and then drinks are there, and then enjoy. And let's just visit and continue to remember and celebrate the wonderful life that Bob had. Okay? Thank you, everybody. We love you all.